I'd like to call this Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Well, we have a large number of bills to deal with today, and we're up against a number of deadlines. So we're going to be moving just as swiftly as we can. First, I'd like to ask Senator Hanger to give the Health and Human Resources Subcommittee report. Members, you'll find it in supplement number 1 on blue paper. And I will remind everyone that public comment was taken in the Committee of Origin, and the patrons had the opportunity to discuss their bills during our subcommittee meeting. So we will not be further discussing them. Okay, now I'd like to turn it over to Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, subcommittee met last evening and reviewed a series of bills, and as in the past, I will try to put a number of them in a block, and then there are a couple that will not be in the block that we'll handle differently, but most of them we were able to work with the patrons and give them at least a portion of what their goal was. I'd also note that the fiscal impact included with some of them is something that we have agreed already, rather than putting a clause on it, that we have agreed when I'm putting these in a block that we will fund these in the budget, the group that I'm going to report first. Senate Bill 1003, Senator DeSeff, is mandated coverage for hearing aids for minors, which is something we dealt with a couple years ago. It does have a fiscal impact in 2024 of $415,000. It was the unanimous recommendation of the subcommittee that we pass this. So I would ask that be included in the block.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, Senator Norman.
Madam Chairman, I don't mean to slow down the train, but I've raised this question before. Have we just totally abandoned when we're mandating health benefits where it used to go through the mandated benefit commission for consideration? Have we just totally dispensed with that on all matters?
We actually, they go through right now through the Health Insurance Reform Commission. HIRC. So that HIRC got replaced the Mandated Benefits Commission a few years ago. Okay. And this one has been through that process in a couple of years past. So,
Thank you very much.
Okay, and if there's not objection, I'll leave that in the block if one wants it out of the block. Okay, we'll leave that in the block for the time being. Senate Bill 1261, Senator Donovan. Subcommittee recommends a substitute, and I would move the substitute be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded the substitute be adopted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's adopted.
Okay. This is dealing with health insurance and electronic prior authorization and disclosure of certain prescription drug information. It actually is, with the substitute, it will not have a fiscal impact that I believe potentially, but it creates, intends to create an online process that links directly to all e-prescribing systems and electronic health record systems. So it was a unanimous recommendation of the subcommittee that bill be reported in the nature of a substitute. Senate Bill 846, Senator Favola. Again, the subcommittee created a substitute, and I would move the adoption of the substitute, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and seconded the substitute be agreed to. All in favor indicate by saying aye. 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 Any opposed? It's agreed to.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 846, as in the nature of a substitute, we limited it to one area of individuals where people with certain barrier crime exceptions for peer recovery specialists. Obviously, a lot of the individuals with who are in peer recovery have had experience and perhaps sometimes violations that would be barrier crimes, and this creates an exception to that for certain barrier crimes, and it was unanimous recommendation that Senate Bill 846 be reported. Small fiscal impact, $166,000 in fiscal year 2024.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, Senator
Sorry, slow
Norman.
down. Does that include crimes of violence?
No, wait, let me pull the detail here, Chair. Drug offenses.
Drug
Okay,
offenses.
without,
Thank you.
okay. Okay. Senate Bill 823, it was unanimous recommendation to report this. This is, I guess, basically codifying what has already existed as in the form of a relative maintenance payment program, and it's being codified as a kinship foster care prevention program, which deals with being able to make payments to relatives and fictive kin of individuals that can remain in a familiar relationship rather than being placed into foster care. There is a rather significant fiscal impact, but it is that money, I think, has already been in the budget because this has existed previously as a relative maintenance payment program, roughly $4 million per year in that range. And the committee unanimously recommended reporting that. Senate Bill 1457, Senator Lewis, again, unanimous recommendation to report the bill unamended. Long-term services and support screening after admission. It provides that if an individual is admitted to a skilled nursing facility not covered by Medicaid, and such individual was not screened for long-term care services, but is subsequently determined that it would be eligible, then that process can move forward. Medicaid coverage is then permitted from 6 months from the original admission date, kind of backfilling there. So we did recommend that be reported. Senate Bill 987, Senator Mason, guardianship and conservatorship periodic review hearings. It was a unanimous recommendation to report that. It establishes a court process for periodic review hearings of guardian or conservator appointments that requires a hearing within 1 year of initial appointment and every 3 years thereafter, and allows any person to file a petition to hold a periodic review hearing prior to a scheduled date if there's good cause for that case. There's an indeterminate impact on the criminal fund, but no direct fiscal impact. And that was a JLARC recommendation at one point. So we would hope that would be passed in the block. I'll skip over 998 at the moment. Senate Bill 1218, the subcommittee recommends this bill be reported 5-0, dealing with the Aging Commonwealth Council on Aging, something that Senator Mason has been working on for some time now, basically to establish membership and who is to be appointed to this council that deals more directly with matters of aging. There's been some concern when we consolidated Department of Aging into rehabilitation and what have you, that there was not enough emphasis on that, and this would help with that situation as far as emphasis on the aging with the Commonwealth Council on Aging. Roughly $150,000 general fund each year. Subcommittee unanimously recommended that. Senate Bill 1140, Senator McPike, dealing with, it directs the Department of Aging Rehab Services to develop and provide training for court-appointed guardians. There is a fiscal impact. The patron did submit a budget, and it is the intent to fund this particular initiative in DARS to provide this much-needed training. So I would ask that be included in the block. Senate Bill 872, Senator Newman, emergency custody, temporary detention. It deals with alternative transportation, provides that an employee or a contractor providing alternative transportation services for ECOs and TDOs receive training approved by the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services in a proper and safe use of restraint, and that they may use restraint in certain, if it's necessary in certain cases, but under certain guidelines. No fiscal impact is indicated on this one. The Senate Bill 1414, Senator Pillion. Senator Pillion had two bills dealing with the opioid abatement and remediation fund and other issues dealing with that. Senate Bill 1414, it was recommended that it be reported. This creates the Commonwealth Opioid Abatement and Remediation Fund, of which, with the master settlement, 15% is the state share would go into a fund, and we basically are setting up that fund for receipt of those funds, and then those funds would flow at the direction of the General Assembly. And the subcommittee reported unanimously that that bill be passed. Senate Bill 1415, we did develop a substitute on this one. Initially, the subcommittee felt that it was premature to move forward and fund a plan, but that the plan should be developed first. We struggled with that a bit, and direction was given to staff to help in developing with the director of the Opioid Abatement Authority to come up, and with the Senator Pillion, to come up with some language which would allow them to move forward with portions of the plan with money that might already be available to them once the plan was developed. So, Madam Chair, I would ask that we adopt the substitute. I move, so move.
It's been moved and seconded. The substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's agreed to.
And so with the adoption of the substitute, the subcommittee unanimously recommends reporting that. Senator Rouse had a bill, Senate Bill 1544, which deals with directs the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services to review its regulations that require licensed providers to report allegations of abuse, neglect, and exploitation. The intent is to find ways to reduce administrative burdens and to be more efficient with this type of reporting. No fiscal impact, and we unanimously supported this bill, Senate Bill 1544. Senate Bill 945, Senator Suderline had brought this concept to us before in basically combining certain programs under developmental disability waivers, and it did not succeed totally last year. So this year, he's reduced it to combining two services, combine the maximum annual allowable amount for Medicaid-assisted technology and electronic home-based support services to provide some more latitude there in how those programs are administered. There is a fiscal impact of roughly $550,000 per year that the committee has decided tentatively to fund that, and I would ask that we include that in the block. Madam Chair, those have a couple more bills to address, but those are the ones that I would ask that we move forward in a block.
It's been moved and seconded that the bills in the block as amended, with the understanding that they will be funded in the budget, be agreed to. No. What's the motion? To report. Thank you. The motion is to report. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bills in the block are reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Then we have two remaining bills that we heard. Senate Bill 998, Senator Mason's, would create in the Administrative Process Act an appeal of case decisions regarding grant or denial of public assistance. There was an indeterminate amount of general fund impact, but significant, it was presumed. And the recommendation of the subcommittee that this bill be PBI'd and that a letter come from the chair to have the DMAS, I think they're the probably right,
And
where the letter would go,
DSS.
and the Department of
And
Social
D.
Services jointly come up with some type of recommendation on this proposed initiative. And so I move that the bill be PBI'd with the understanding that the chair will be sending a letter.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0.
All right.
The bill is PBI'd with a letter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And then Senator Peterson's had a bill, Senate Bill 957, which is a major initiative, which some people like and some people don't. But the subcommittee acting thought we should go ahead and advance this concept now, which would create a prescription drug affordability board and look at upper payment limits on certain drugs. It was determined if it would lead to a more affordable rates. This has been put forward in a couple of other states, and some would contend with mixed results, but the overall initiative and the concept the subcommittee supported. I would ask, Madam Chair, as this goes through the process, there is potentially, I think $1 million is what the fiscal impact for 2024 was projected. I would ask that we put the clause on this, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded that the clause
Oh,
be.
we got another amendment too? Okay, right.
Okay, strike.
But I would ask that the clause go on there first, Madam Chair.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that the clause be placed on the bill. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The clause is added.
Okay, and staff has a line amendment to report.
Madam Chair, it just strikes the President Pro Temp of the Senate and inserts Senate Committee on Rules for the appointment of Senate members.
It's been moved and seconded that the amendment be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's agreed to.
Okay.
been
Senator
moved.
Peterson, do you have any comments to make on this?
No, I think you did, other than to say we spend about $2.4 billion on prescription drug costs. I think this could save money to the state. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, I would
Okay,
ask that
it's
the bill be
been-
reported.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 957 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
Ayes 13, noes 2. The bill's reported. Thank you, Senator
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Hanger. That was quite a committee report.
Right.
Okay, next, we will be hearing from the Resources Subcommittee that met last Thursday. For members, it is the supplemental packet on purple paper. And I'll ask Tyler to describe what happened.
Thank you, Senator Howe. The first bill is Senate Bill 997, Senator Mason's, related to oyster shell recycling. The subcommittee recommends adopting a substitute which expands the current grant program, and then the bill be reported 6 yes, 0 no.
It's been moved and seconded. The substitute to Senate Bill 997 be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Substitute's adopted. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 997 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, noes 0. The bill's reported.
The next bill, Senate Bill 1048, Senator McPike's, relates to research and development tax credits. The subcommittee recommends the bill be reported 6 yes, 0 no.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1048 be reported. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, nay.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, noes 0. The bill's reported.
The next bill, Senate Bill 1066, Senator Surivel, relates to increasing the historic rehabilitation tax credit. The subcommittee recommends the bill be passed by indefinitely, 6 yes, 0 no, with the Joint Subcommittee on Tax Policy to study.
Okay, it's, yes, Senator Locke.
Madam Chair, I would move that this bill be reported, and if I can get a second, I will speak.
Second.
Madam Chair, this historic tax credit is very important to the first cities, and the first cities are those cities that are older cities that rely very heavily upon these tax credits for redevelopment purposes. And particularly urban communities that are in dire need of historic renovation of these communities. And I think that this is an important tax credit for these communities. And I think that we are doing a disservice to these communities if we do not allow them to use these tax credits for those purposes.
Senator Hanger.
Madam Chair, I would just to refresh there was a time when we weren't as flush with cash as we happen to be at the moment, several years ago, and that's when we put the cap of $5 million on there. And I really haven't had a chance to look at this. I was wondering if we could pass this by for the day to see the implication of a little more closely of what this would do.
Without objection, we'll pass it by for the day.
Okay. The next bill is Senate Bill 1210, Senator Mason. This relates to an income tax subtraction increase for the Virginia National Guard. The subcommittee recommends the bill be reported 6 yes, 0 no.
It's been moved. Is there a second? And seconded that Senate Bill 1210 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, noes 0. The bill's reported.
The next bill is Senate Bill 1355, Senator Newman. It relates to reducing the corporate income tax rate and then 2 business deductions. The subcommittee recommends the bill be passed by indefinitely, 4 yes, 2 no.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1355 be passed by indefinitely. Please record your vote.
Ayes 11, noes 4.
Ayes 11, noes 4. The bill is passed by indefinitely.
The next bill, Senate Bill 1451, Senator Norman, relates to the individual income tax rate and then the standard deduction. The subcommittee recommends the bill be passed by indefinitely, 4 yes, 2 no.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1451 be passed by indefinitely. Please record your vote.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5. The bill is passed by indefinitely.
The next bill, Senate Bill 1142, Senator McPike, relates to sports betting adjusted gross revenue. The subcommittee recommends adopting a substitute. The substitute allows for the first 12 months, no limit on the deduction for bonuses and promotions, and then after 12 months, limits those deductions to 1.75% of all wagers. And the subcommittee recommends the substitute be reported 6 yes, 0 no.
I'll move the substitute.
The substitute has been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's adopted. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1142 be reported as amended. Please record your vote.
Ayes 11, noes 4.
Ayes 11, noes 4. The bill's reported.
The next bill, Senate Bill 1161, Senator Stewart, relates to the distribution of recordation taxes to localities. The subcommittee recommends the bill be passed by indefinitely, 6 yes, 0 no.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1161 be passed by indefinitely. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is passed by indefinitely.
The final bill, Senate Bill 1350, Senator Eben, relates to the tobacco products tax for liquid nicotine and nicotine vapor. The subcommittee recommends adopting a substitute which would require the Secretary of Finance to study the appropriate entity to license and produce safety requirements for those products. And the subcommittee recommends the substitute be reported 5 yes, 0 no, 1 abstention.
I'll move the substitute adopted.
It's been moved and seconded the substitute be adopted. All in agreement, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's adopted.
Madam Chair,
Senator Evan.
I have a line amendment to the substitute on line 8. It talks about the Secretary of Finance making an assessment, and I just want to add the words on line 8 after Secretary of Finance in consultation with stakeholders. I would move that as a line amendment.
Is there a second to the line amendment?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the line amendment be added to the substitute. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The line amendment's agreed to. So is there a motion on the bill?
Move the report. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1350 is amended be reported. All in favor, record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported. I believe that completes that subcommittee. Okay. Next, I'm going to ask Katie to provide the Claims Subcommittee report, and that one is on yellow paper.
Madam Chairman, the Claims Subcommittee, chaired by Senator Edwards, met and heard one bill, Senate Bill 928, patroned by Senator Hashmi. This provides $1.5 million for relief payment for Mr. Michael Haas. The subcommittee recommended adopting a technical amendment and reporting the bill by a vote of 3 yes, 0 no.
Would someone move the technical amendment?
I move the technical amendment.
It's been moved and seconded. The technical amendment be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Move.
It's agreed to.
I move the bill pass.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. The bill as amended be reported. All in favor, please record your vote aye.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. The bill's reported. Okay, we are now going to be going into the part of our docket dealing with bills that were not in front of a subcommittee, and I am getting various interpretations of the sign-up. Do I start from here and then add these, or do I start with these and then go here? Okay, thank you. I don't want everybody sitting out there angry with me. So the word is, I start with the screen and then I go with the little slip of paper. I don't anger easy, so. Okay, first up, Senator Stanley.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I believe I have 3 bills in front of you, so if you'd like to kill them in a block, we can just put them in a block.
Oh, that would be great.
Make it easy. Wow, that was unanimous. Madam Chair and members of the committee, if we could start with maybe in numerical order, SB 806.
SB 806.
Yes. Members of the committee, all of those who might have served on Ed and Health where this first appeared might recall this bill. At one time, we created a one-off scholarship program for robotics teams to start and be sustained and maintained, especially in those kind of schools where there were lower income levels, where we had 60% of the children attending those schools were eligible for reduced or free lunch. I got a call over the summer from some very earnest high school students who participate in the robotics programs in more affluent areas. And they came to me and said, we want to make this a permanent thing. We want to make sure that we're expanding robotics and those programs and those competitions throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia, especially in our underserved, underprivileged areas. If you know, back in the past, I've been a champion of robotics. We actually got VHSL, I put in a bill and it was killed, but VHSL now recognizes them as a sport, a letter sport. And as I always like to say, when I played baseball and I wanted to go pro, chances of me going pro were 0. Look at me. I mean, I'm vertically challenged. But every single one of these students that participates in the robotics team can go pro. And so, Madam Chair, if you will allow, because I told the students when they said they wanted to put up this bill for the Virginia students, I told them they'd have to write it, they'd have to present it, they'd have to lobby for it and advocate for it, contact your offices, have other students contact your offices. And they're here today, so if you would just briefly allow them to present the bill as I'm making them do, I'd appreciate it.
I'm sorry, but it was heard in a previous committee, so we don't take public comment.
Okay, well, these are really good kids, and they're
But
right back
we-
here. Stand if you would.
And we heard you before, and it was really impressive.
All right,
Thank
and
you for coming.
then I'll finish by saying, surprisingly, this $200,000 appropriation has been in the budget, and is still in the budget. So it's already there, and I just hope that you look upon this bill favorably for these young men and women who've worked so hard on it.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 806 be reported. Please record your vote.
Miracle.
Ayes 15, no 0.
You're on the uncontested calendar.
Miracle, I'm going to stop right there. All right, so.
All right.
Next bill is Senate Bill 1114. You guys stay. So 1114 was heard, of course, in another committee. And quite frankly, I think it's a new way of kind of joining regionally our state together, and especially when we talk about development, housing crises. We have a new home and apartment and multifamily dwelling crisis going on in Southside and Southwest Virginia and all of our other areas. But what we do have in the great town of Vienna, which has more trees now because of Senator Peterson, we're losing all of that green space where residential developments occurred. So what this would do is create a portal that would operate what would be called the Virginia Residential Sites and Structures Locator Database. So it assists localities in those areas to kind of match up with developers who then could come down there and develop multifamily dwellings, single-family houses, even light commercial, kind of like town centers, and join those developers in Northern Virginia with the green open spaces and the local communities and the local governments in other areas. And it's not just limited to my area, Southside and Southwest Virginia, but to any area. And all it requires is that the locality either own the green space or have permission of the owner to put the green space through the portal so that publicly, instead of searching for property, our developers would know exactly where that property is. There's a cost to it, which I think is $350,000. To me, I mean, I thought we had IT guys that could do these things, but that's the cost of the fizz that's on it. And so that's the bill, Madam Chair.
Are there questions for the patron?
Move to report. Second.
It's been moved. Substitute motion? Okay. It's a substitute motion to PBI. All in favor of PBIing, record your vote.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5. The bill is PBI.
I should have stopped. Hey, we have beagles together. I thought, we're simpatico, but I guess we're not. So last bill that you want to kill is Senate Bill 1124. Senate Bill 1124, Madam Chair, members of the committee, is brought by the School Modernization Commission, chaired by, as I like to call her, Madam Congresswoman Almost, Senator McClellan. And we have worked very hard and for many years to bring awareness and also to try to make change in modernizing our schools. As you know, and I've said it on the floor of the Senate and in committees, we have crumbling schools in inner cities and rural areas that were built before World War II. And it's interfering with the ability of our children to learn or to get the equal education that perhaps we get the children that are in brand new shiny buildings in Northern Virginia take for granted. I know in Loudoun County, and second graders are being taught coding. In the areas that we have explored, Senator McClellan and myself, some of our classrooms in these older schools have maybe one electrical outlet and cannot do the things that are being done. Even in the most simple of terms, this prevents what is creating a world-class education for the 21st century workforce. As you know, Madam Chair, the great majority of our students that come through the public school system, all my children attend public school, The great majority of them don't go on to college, so we got to get them as close as we can to being job ready, to create a workforce tech talent pipeline. And so what this bill does is it requests the Board of Education to make recommendations to the General Assembly for amendments to the standards of quality that will establish for the maintenance, operation, renovation, and new construction of public elementary and secondary school buildings. What we're trying to seek here is we should have a standard by which we can say what is a modern school, what is a renovated school, and those standards are also something that not can be aspirational for the school system themselves, but be a great guidepost in terms of modernizing our schools and making sure that our children have an excellent education and a chance at the American dream. And so that report actually would be delivered to the chairman of the House Committee on Education and the Senate Committee on Ed and Health no later than December 1st, 2023. So we'll have results by the end of this year with this bill. And so that's the bill, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Deeds.
Senator Stanley, last year you had Senate Bill 603 that didn't get out of this committee. How is this different from that bill?
It's matured over a year.
Madam Chair, as I get older, I would answer the gentleman by saying, I can't even remember what I had for breakfast.
Okay.
So I don't know what the differences are, except what is better about this bill is this was Senator McClellan's bill, and she gave it to me. How's that?
But it's essentially the same bill, you think?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator McClellan.
it is the same bill, but the commission is hoping for a
Different result.
different result because, I mean, basically, students can't learn in buildings that are falling apart, that catch on fire, when they have lab facilities that aren't modern enough for the technology needed to teach modern science. And so it was a unanimous recommendation of the commission to put the bill back in. Hope springs eternal, that it will continue, it will move forward, just like every year I bring the SOQ bill and we eventually made progress. We're hoping the same thing will happen here.
Madam Chairman, I move to report. I can't believe anyone on this committee doesn't want kids to learn.
It's been. Is there,
What a finish.
do you want to continue talking
No, that
or
was
you know
that was
better?
a great finish.
Okay.
I'm just shut up over here. I'm going to be quiet.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to report Senate Bill 1124. Please record your vote.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm going to leave right now.
It was good seeing you, Senator.
It's always great seeing you, Madam Chair. Always. Yeah, then you're going to kill it.
Okay, next up is Senator McDougal, who is not here. So then Senator Reeves.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. I think I have Senate Bill 1356, is that correct?
Senate Bill 1356.
Madam Chair, as this committee knows, COVID had a detrimental effect to Virginia to a lot of different aspects. But one thing that we were tracking was, are we keeping our veterans here? Prior to COVID, we were keeping them here. I think we were growing our veterans population about 1.36%. So we weren't just neutral, we were still growing at a positive rate. Now, after COVID, we're losing our veterans and a lot of our citizens, but a lot of our veterans are leaving. And so what this bill is designed to do is get our veterans into our schools here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I carried a couple other bills that have to do with our National Guard, but this is just veterans in general. And what this bill is designed to do is allow those veterans a place in the line that will get them in a little bit quicker. There's some reporting requirements that our universities are going to have to kind of feed back to us to let us know, so we have some form of metrics as we put this policy into place. And all the veterans that are applying for Virginia schools will have to meet the underlying criteria set up by there are governing bodies of each of those institutions, but as well as additional admissions criteria or prioritization for capped enrollment in academic programs. So if you served on active duty while in the Commonwealth of Virginia, this would give you the opportunity to apply back to our colleges and universities. That's the bill, Madam Chair. I don't know if there's I don't have an impact statement, so I have no idea if there is an impact.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes.
Senator Reeves,
Reeves.
this puts veterans above everybody else that applies.
Madam Chair, Senator Deeds, I don't know if it puts them above everybody else, but it certainly gives them a priority in line, but they still have to meet all the underlying criteria.
Yep.
Well, Madam Chair,
Senator Deeds.
I knocked on doors in Fairfax County, and I can tell you, everybody there thinks their kids ought to go to UVA or Virginia Tech,
And they should.
and they should, right? And this puts them even above the Fairfax County kids.
They shouldn't get that kind of preference. I never would have asked for something like that.
All right, is there a motion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator Evans.
Just another question. So for Senator Reeves, Madam Chair, I wanted to ask, do they have to meet the same academic standards that every other student would meet in
They
terms
do.
of?
SATs, pre-requirements, coursework, all that sort of stuff.
It's all things being equal.
Senator Barker.
Yeah. Senator Reeves, I think you're working on trying to get an opportunity for some of the veterans here. But I think this is too broad and would basically put them at the head of the line, ahead of everybody else, that anybody else that meets the requirements of the institution. And they would be there and they would be accepted, and not all of the other students would be accepted. And I think there's maybe other ways in which we could provide some benefits and help a lot of them get accepted into the institutions. But I think this is too broad, and for that reason, I'm going to move that the bill be passed by indefinitely.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1356 be passed by indefinitely. Please record your vote.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Thank you all.
Bill is
I think that's all I
PBI.
have this
Thank
morning.
you.
Thank you.
Senator McPike.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Committee of Senate Joint Resolution 231. This is before you. This is presented in P&E and also referred to here. It opens up to clarify in the Constitution and change what we currently have, which was killed in action, to died in the line of duty. And so there is a pretty important distinction. Under the KEIA status, it really is in theater with an enemy combatant determination. However, we have sons and daughters that don't return home that were also killed in various forms due to terrorism, murder, accidents, and other things. And so when those folks don't come home, the spouses are in a much different classification based on what we've written into the Constitution. So based on the review, Madam Chair, there's a very limited number of people, according to the Joint Legislative Council of Veteran Service Organizations, that this would apply to, but it really does level the playing field. The fact is, a loved one is not coming home due to their service to our country, and this seeks to rebalance it to make sure all those are covered. According to the data that was FOIA'd and received from DOD, it's approximately 182 surviving spouses, according to the data they received in both classifications, if this was widened. So it's still a fairly narrow pool, but one I think we should honor.
Hold on.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, Senator Norman.
Madam Chair, if I could ask the senator, does that property exemption continue if the surviving spouse remarries?
I believe the existing code section, I'd have to clarify with council, says without exemption.
Just tell us.
Madam Chair, the exemption shall cease if the surviving spouse remarries.
Yeah, right, it's in Part A.
Senator Peterson.
Madam Chair, I have a question, and I guess my question is, Senator, died in the line of duty. I think we all understand killed in action, whether it was from friendly fire or an enemy combatant. Died in the line of duty, first of all, means it's no longer limited to wartime. And then secondly, it would no longer be limited to even a traumatic. I mean, someone could die of cancer in the line of duty. I mean, what does it mean to die in the line of duty?
So the KIA, and I'm not an expert, and there might be someone in the room who knows, because there are military rules about how each is defined. But essentially, folks at the Pentagon, not covered. Texas shootings, not covered. Those are not in theater, nor from a direct enemy combatant. So under the military terms, those do not qualify in our Constitution right now.
So, further question.
Yes.
It would have to be somebody who died in a war theater based on what I would describe as a traumatic injury, not, for example, an organic type illness or.
Not even that, but it has to be an enemy has fired or even friendly fire. The person has died as a direct result of an enemy combatant action. It's a fairly narrow defined way that the military classifies each one of these.
Okay.
If I might ask a question, it must be military. It couldn't be, for example, a State Department employee or USAID.
Not as currently written, I don't believe so. No. No. We have a friend that wants to step up.
Good,
Who's one of our
yes.
experts.
Good morning, Madam Chair,
Good
members of the committee. There is a strict definition as to what constitutes killed in action. My understanding of this particular amendment would apply to those circumstances where you have, for example, a training accident. This matter came to my attention a few years ago when I was secretary, where an individual had died in such a training accident. They were not engaged in an actual conflict, but they were obviously engaged in activities related to their military service. Because of the current status of the law, they weren't entitled to the exemption at that time. And so I believe this effort is an attempt to get to those circumstances where a member of the military is engaged in military-related duties, but they do not, if they die as a result of those duties, are not entitled, or their spouse is not entitled to the current exemptions under the code.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Peterson.
Then I think we really are expanding the definition because they no longer have to be in theater. They could be at a fort in Texas or fort in North Carolina, and it could be an accident. I mean, they could be driving off duty and be in an accident. So, I mean, it seems to me we're swinging the door pretty wide open.
If it's off-duty, so there's a line of duty investigation, and the accident has to be related to their military duties. So when you say off-duty, there is a method to determine whether or not a soldier or member of the military is killed in the line of duty.
Okay, well, let me ask a further question, if I might. Does it even have to be during wartime anymore?
It's my understanding that this would not be during wartime. A declared state of war is a specific activity or a specific effort. But we do have military hostilities that occur. This would occur, or this would expand it to include those members who are performing their military duties and killed in the line of duty. And their spouses would then be entitled to that exemption.
So just, and I apologize, but you could have a traffic accident at Fort Hood or wherever, or the shootings at Fort Hood that we had a few years ago.
That's exactly what we're talking about, Senator Peterson.
And I get that, and now those folks are going to be pulled into this. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's good or bad, I'm just saying this is a pretty dramatic expansion.
And I would say, Madam Chair, to the senator, and let me back up, I should have announced my own, Carlos Hopkins with Gentry Locke, former Secretary of Veterans and Defense Affairs. With respect to your question as to the expansion, again, we're talking specifically for those members of Virginia. It would be an extremely small number of individuals that it would cover. So while the definition may seem to broaden it somewhat, the actual number of individuals would be fairly small. Because we would not have that many individuals who would die and qualify for this particular exemption.
Madam Chair, these are still people that die while in the service to their country. I move to report the bill.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Joint Resolution 231 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The resolution is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Hashmi.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. SB 1333 is the bill in front of you. SB 1333 empowers the Clean Energy Advisory Board to apply to the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, for the funds that are available now pursuant to the Inflation Reduction Act. So it is estimated that the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund through the EPA will be providing about $27 billion for expenditure by September 30th, 2024. So there's not that much time to make sure that we are able to make use of the funds and then also to ensure that they are distributed appropriately. So if Virginia doesn't use these federal funds, other states will certainly be at an advantage in terms of incentivizing the programs that fall under it. So the bill is designed to expand the purpose of the Clean Energy Advisory Board from just dispersing loans and rebates to also now including the dispersal of grants. And it would help to ensure that we are effectively working with our low-income communities in the processes of weatherizing and expanding solar options. This bill does not have any budget impact, and in fact, it would help Virginia to secure billions of dollars for distribution through the grant process.
Thank you, Senator. There are questions? Is there a motion?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1333 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bills are reported. Thank you, Senator. Next up is Senator McDougal, but I don't see him. And then Senator Morrissey, but I don't. Senator Morrissey.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Good morning.
I've got 3 matters before you. Is there any order you would like me to take them in, Madam Chair?
No, whatever order you'd like.
Certainly. Senate Bill 915 deals with the National Guard and state parks. That bill, as you recall, directs the Department of Conservation and Recreation to establish a Virginia National Parks passport, which authorizes any active member of the Virginia National Guard to enter the state parks without paying an admissions fee or parking. Introduced, while there is no fiscal impact that we know, because we do not know the total number of National Guard members that will avail themselves of this opportunity. The budget includes $20,000 in general fund appropriation each year to offset any potential loss of income to the state parks due to National Guard's folk availing themselves of this. There are 9,100 active Guard members. So that's that bill.
Are there questions for the patron? Yes, Senator Norman.
Madam Chairman, I would ask the Senator, I like the part about the admissions and parking, but how about overnight?
The admission would be for that day, if they avail themselves overnight, it would include an overnight stay.
Thank you.
Further questions? Senator Hanger.
Madam Chair, that's a whole different ballgame if we go there, I believe, just in my opinion. I think this would be confined to park entry, or should be, if we aren't there already. Because it's pretty pricey to stay in a cabin overnight.
Excuse me.
Senator Morrissey.
Senator Norman, when you said if they wanted to come back 2 days in a row, that's what I thought you meant. Did you mean be able to have free access to a cabin, which are very scarce? Is that what your question was?
Madam Chairman, I would say, having spent a lot of my youth in state parks in tents and trailers, that's what I was referring to, not repeated admission.
My bad. No, it just allows them admission to the park, free parking, and if they came back the next day, the same thing would repeat itself. But we had a presentation on the limited. I'm sorry.
If you're satisfied with the message, press 1. To listen to your message, press 2. To erase it.
I'm very sorry. That must have been running. I am aware of the limited amount of space for cabins, and so it doesn't include that, but they could go on successive days, Senator, and have free parking.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Peterson.
I have a budget amendment in, and I think we had it in last year's budget. I think everyone ought to get free admission to state parks if they're a Virginia citizen. I really do. I think the amount of money we collect is minuscule. It's an administrative burden, and it sends the wrong message. We want people to come in. And so I don't know if that puts me in favor of this bill or against this bill, because I don't think we ought to be carving out classes of people saying you get in free and you got to pay. You know, why shouldn't state police get in free?
Madam Chair, Senator Peterson, I would think that would put you in favor of this bill. Here's why. This bill, we have HB 1400, SB 800. There is a $20,000 general fund appropriation. If your bill were to be successful, then that appropriation, I don't think, would be necessary. But I don't think our two bills are inconsistent with one another.
All right.
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 915 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported. Senator Morrissey, what next?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next bill is SB 916, the Henrico County Public Defender's Office. Madam Chair, members of the committee, SB 916 passed just a few days ago on January 16th, and it was referred to Finance due to the costs associated with creating any public defender's office in the Commonwealth. Although the fiscal impact has not been published this year, the budget amendment that was submitted is for $3,300,000, and it was based on the Senate Finance staff's recommendation from 2022, as well as the concomitant fiscal impact. The item number is 51, number 1S. I could go into a few more of the weeds associated with the size of this office if it was helpful, Madam Chair, but I will say this, there's over 35 positions created, and this will be the next, or the latest in the public defender's offices in Central Virginia. The most recent one that was created was in Chesterfield County.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Deeds.
Last year, we had this bill. I think we ought to have public defenders everywhere, but I'm wondering, last year we sent it to JLARC, and JLARC's indicated they're not going to get the study done until this year. Are you aware of that, Senator Morrissey?
I don't know. I was not aware of that. Okay. No, sir. Last year, my bill, as you recall, was rolled into Senator McClellan's SB 475, and it was sent to JLARC for the study. That was in 2022. It was sent to JLARC for the study. And I believe there was a letter sent from Senate Finance staff at that time.
And Madam Chair, I'm not on JLARC, but the notes I've got here indicate that the letter was sent and was put on the work plan for 2023. Is that correct?
I'm seeing, not,
That is correct.
Madam Chair.
Senator Barker.
Yeah, I think it's, that they've indicated that they will have the report in the fall of 2023.
So, given that we had wanted the report from JLARC and they will have it this fall, perhaps we need to just put this bill by until we get the report.
I'll make the motion that it go by.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that it go by. And just to make clear, we're just waiting for the report. It's not a statement of value of the bill at all. Okay, all in favor, record your vote. Aye, opposed, nay.
Passed by for the days.
Oh.
It's not a recorded vote.
Passed by for the day?
Yes.
Okay, the motion is to pass it by for the day. All right. Please record your vote.
No, it's
The voice, okay.
The voice vote.
Thank you. All in favor of passing it by for the day, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, it's passed by for the day. Okay, you have one more, I believe.
yes, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 1335, it calls for fiscal impacts when we create new felonies or we increase mandatory minimums for some felony. Before I proceed, I'd ask that somebody introduce and move the substitute.
It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Madam
Not
Chair, Senate Bill 1335 adds technical language requested by the Sentencing Commission. What will occur is as follows. Whenever there is, the Virginia Criminal Sentencing Commission shall prepare a fiscal impact reflecting the operating costs in the Department of Corrections attributable to any bill where we increase a sentence for a defendant or it increases net periods of imprisonment in both adult correctional facilities and juvenile facilities. The impact can be significant per prisoner. It can be up to between $30,000 and $40,000 a year. Madam Chair, I have two brief witnesses. May I call them now? Madam Chair, I said I had two brief witnesses. May I call them now?
Yes.
Fine. First one is Chuck Meir. Yeah, he's online, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Chuck Mayer. I work with a group called Julian Legal. We helped draft this bill. The fundamental purpose of it is to provide yourself and your colleagues with more accurate information when considering expansions of felonies or creating new felonies. As I'm sure you're aware right now, the Criminal Sentencing Commission and Department of Planning and Budget prepare fiscal impact statements for these crimes or these new bills that would expand or create new crimes. They have a very rigorous methodology by which they estimate these costs. However, that methodology requires a substantial amount of data. And in cases where they don't have the full data picture, they're required to submit a $50,000 impact statement or estimate. That's part of the Woodrum Amendment. That $50,000, while it may have at one point been accurate, frankly, just isn't the case anymore. For example, the Department of Planning and Budget estimate for incarcerating one person for a single year right now is $49,000. And so what we're saying is essentially, if we can't use our best estimate, then we're saying that we'll incarcerate one person per year for this new crime. And I don't think anyone thinks that that's accurate. This bill would create a new formula that would only be used in cases where the Sentencing Commission or the Department of Planning and Budget can't use their preferred methodology. And what it essentially does is it tries to estimate based on the number of felonies within a certain class of felonies and the number of people incarcerated on average over a 3-year period for violating those felonies. It would create much more accurate data. You know, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be the same as the rigorous methodology that is used when the data is perfect, but it's a much better estimate than $50,000. And hopefully it will allow you and your colleagues some better transparency and the ability to make much more informed decisions. We did work with the Sentencing Commission to sit down and try and improve the bill and make sure that this process utilized as much of a uniform methodology as possible and could mesh with their existing systems, and to make sure that we never stepped on their toes because they're the professional, and we allowed them to always perform their methodology, their preferred methodology first, and they would only use this in the case where that can't be done. Thank you.
Next witness, unless there are any questions, is Sean Winetta. He's present in the room.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Sean Winetta speaking on behalf of the ACLU of Virginia. Just wanted to touch on two things very briefly. In Virginia right now, there are no less than 1,119 felonies on the books. That expands when you get sort of into the subsets. 18 Class 1s, 48 Class 2s, 38 Class 3s, 115 Class 4s, 157 Class 5s, 514 Class 6, and 229 unclassified felonies in Virginia right now. And just a snapshot of budgeting of the Department of Corrections. Over the last 10 years, the Department of Corrections budget has ballooned from $800 million to more than $1.5 billion. We believe that without an accurate snapshot, a more accurate snapshot of data for yourself and your colleagues moving forward, that's going to continue to balloon in such a fashion. We believe that this is a prudent measure to give you more accurate data and to really answer the question of if we want to incarcerate somebody, we need to be willing to pay for it. And we hope this gives you a better opportunity to get that data and ask those questions and make better informed decisions. So we support the bill and hope you will as well. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I think over the long haul, some sort of revision like this might end up saving us money. I just wonder if there's anybody here from the Criminal Sentencing Commission that can address these changes. I mean, I don't know if this is the right formula or if there's another formula that works. I don't know.
Is there anyone here from the Sentencing Commission? Apparently not.
I would also add, Madam Chair, Senator, that this bill also would allow the Department of Planning and Budget, working with the Department of Juvenile Justice, to prepare a similar report showing the impact, the fiscal impact reflecting the operating costs attributable when a juvenile period of incarceration would increase as well. I guess I would say this, it just gives you, Senator Deeds, additional information that maybe can be helpful, certainly would not be harmful to know what it's costing. A classic example might be that if we increase the mandatory minimum from 5 years to 10 years on a gun offense, then you would now know that that has a fiscal impact of $250,000. Anyway, that's the bill.
Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It gets even more complicated. I guess what you're going with here is the net cost per inmate of running the entire system. But there's also a calculation that could, be factored in, which is the direct costs. The direct costs are those to the hot water they use, the food they eat, the medicines they take, these kinds of things, which are direct to the inmate, which is under $10,000, I believe, still, per inmate. But it is, that kind of thing should probably be calculated in too. If you're only going to add a few inmates, it's not $49,000 a year. The overhead's already in place. If you're adding a whole bunch, that gets even, that's a different calculation. But somehow or another, there needs to be considered what the direct costs are in coming up with your figure.
Madam Chair, Senator Marsden, respectfully, $10,000 may have been appropriate in 1950, but the operating costs to put a prisoner, an individual in the DOC, to feed them for a year, to have the guards monitor them, is north of $31,000. If you add the capital cost in there, then you have a bill that's slightly closer to $50,000 per inmate per year.
Madam Chair?
Senator Barker.
Yeah. Given that we're struggling a little bit with this and don't have somebody from the Sentencing Commission here, what I would like to suggest is that we pass the bill by for the day, see what we can get from the Sentencing Commission during the day today, and then we could take this back up tomorrow.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I guess we'll be advised when that day is. Thank you very much for your time.
Yes, we'll pass the bill by for the day and get some experts in here. Okay, Senator Hackworth.
Good morning, Madam
Good
Chair,
morning.
members of the committee. SB 1116 adds language to the Southwest Virginia Energy Research and Development Authority statutes, basically to position Virginia as a stronger competitor for federal grants, including the U.S. Economic Development Administration, the Department of Energy, U.S. Department of Energy, and the ARC. And the reason that we did this, the need for this, is the eligibility to apply for a number of federal energy-related grants. And this legislation will add language to strengthen Virginia's position to win those grants. And it came out of Ag 15-0, but we do have a couple of line amendments that we'd like to do. On line number 65, after the word solar energy, strike the remainder of line 65 and strike all of line 66. And then on line 70, after the words chain development, strike the remainder of the line and strike all of lines 71 and 72.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
And it's seconded that the amendment be adopted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Madam Chair,
Senator Dees.
if I can understand the amendment, you took out 65 and 66, you took out the nuclear part? Is that right?
Yes.
The what now?
Nuclear, you took it out?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
If I might ask you, if on the other house, they
Yes.
were to try to put nuclear back, would you resist that?
Would I resist it? I don't know if I'm in a position to resist it.
It might depend on whether you get the bill out of here.
Then I wouldn't resist it.
Let me tell you, Senator Hackworth is picking up on the game here. So with that, I will make a motion to recommend reporting the bill.
All right.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill as amended be recommended for reporting, be reported. All in favor, please record your vote.
Jan,
I thought I did vote.
thank you.
Thank you. Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. Bill's
Madam Chair, I've
reported.
learned
Thank
not to argue when the numbers are against you. Thank you.
Okay. Senator McDougall?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. Senate Bill 1213. This is one of the few bills I think that gets referred to you that picks up money. This is in relationship to licensure through DPOR. And right now, if you are licensed in another state, that license cannot be used here in Virginia. This would set up a process. I believe there are approximately 26 different licenses that if you meet the requirements that are laid out, have no violations in the other states, then you would be able to operate under Virginia licensure. So it would actually increase fees that come into DPOR and reduce regulation. And there were, I believe, as we went through the process, there were approximately 4 different licensures that the committee determined were not appropriate to be in this process, so they were removed prior to arriving at finance.
Okay, are there questions? Is there a motion?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1213 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the
Thank
committee.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Peterson.
Yeah, just briefly, I wanted to bring back a bill we voted on earlier. I think we may need to have a tad bit more time to look at, and that's Senate Bill 1114 that
If we could do that after Senator Sproul, who's been waiting quite a long time. Senator Sproul.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to all. Senate Bill 907, Madam Chair, adds election officials and any employees of elected office to list of individuals that may provide a P.O. box instead of their current street address for their voting registration record. This will protect them from their personal information being furnished as part of a voting registration list provided as a third party. To clarify, that it is against the law to bribe, intimidate, threaten, or coerce, willfully hinder or prevent, or attempt to prevent any elected officials from doing their duties. We have found out that at certain locations, people standing outside after the poll has closed, and some of them are afraid to go home, so we thought maybe that on record, there is their address. So we are saying any elected official, those who work there, that they could use a P.O. box as their address. That's what it does.
Are there questions for the patron?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 907 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Madam Chair, you know, I think I'm gonna love this committee.
The bill's reported. Okay.
You want to do CHAP now?
Chap?
Ma'am, Senate Bill 1114, having voted on the prevailing side by which we PBI'd that bill, I move we reconsider. And just speak briefly to the motion. This was the Housing Community Development Bill that Senator Stanley carried, and I think we may need to talk a little bit about it more. So I move we reconsider that vote.
It's been moved. Is there a second to reconsider the vote? It's been moved and second. All in favor of reconsidering the vote, record your aye. Opposed, nay.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0.
And move we take it by for the day.
Without objection, we'll take it by for the day. Okay. Okay, okay. All right. We have remaining several committee member bills, and I will do them alphabetically, starting with Senator Barker. Senate Bill 1521.
All right, Senate Bill 1521 deals with the Revenue Stabilization Fund and the Revenue Reserve Fund that we have within our purview here. There's a substitute, and I'll move the substitute at this time.
It's been moved and seconded. The substitute be adopted. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's adopted.
All right, the substitute actually has just two major adjustments other than the title, one of which is to increase from 5% to 8%, exceeding the general fund revenues from previous years. and that would potentially trigger a transfer of funds into monies into one of the funds. But then also, what is specified here is to go from 15 to 20% as the maximum that the two funds combined would take in. Right now, we have a constitutional amendment that deals with the rainy day fund type of thing. That is set at a maximum of 15%. This way, we would be able to accommodate, so if at some point it's getting close to 15%, and there are required deposits to it, then we would have the revenue reserve fund, which would be potentially up to at least 5% with the 20% increase there, 20% specification. It had been 15%. We did in the budget last year adjust it temporarily so that the combination of the two would not exceed 20%, and this just would codify that.
Are there questions for Senator Barker? Is there a motion?
Move to report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Senate Bill 1521 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported. Senator Eben, you have Senate Bill 1350. I'm not going to do it. We already did that? Okay. I'm just going from a list, so, yes.
If we're not interested.
He timed it perfectly. Yes. Senator Obenshain.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I have Senate Bill 1239, which is the Dairy Producer Margin Coverage Premium Assistance Program. This is a bill that actually passed, I think, a year or two ago to encourage both participation in this federal government insurance program and to encourage voluntary implementation of best management practices. We provide a measure of support for dairy farmers enrolling in this price insurance program with the federal government, and in exchange, the farmers agree to prepare a nutrient management program and to participate in that process. It yields dual benefits. I have submitted a budget amendment asking for a measure of funding, but we don't necessarily need it because there are funds that were appropriated last year, and because of the implementation delay, those funds are still available. And there has been significant interest among Virginia's diminishing number of dairy farmers in participation in this program, and we would very much like to see it continue.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Marsden.
Thank you. My understanding, we talked about this a little bit today, is that this makes aid to the dairy farmers kind of easy to administer, and in that regard, so.
It removes a sunset, and because particularly in light of the funds, unexpended funds, it's really important to the stability of our dairy farms in Virginia, and we're losing them at an alarming rate.
Madam Chair, move to report.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Yes.
There's a committee substitute on this bill, I think.
Okay.
Take
yes,
your word
please.
for it.
Madam Chair, the substitute reinstates the sunset code provisions and sets the expiration for July 1, 2028.
Sounds fair.
I'll move the substitute.
Substitute's been moved and seconded. All in favor of adopting the substitute, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Now
It's
move to
adopted.
report the bill.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Madam
Bill's
Chair,
reported.
members of the
Thank
committee,
you.
thank you very much.
Okay, I believe our next bill alphabetically is Senator Edwards' Bill 1020.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Senate Bill 1020 would make the Virginia Museum of Transportation an agency of the Commonwealth. It would establish the agency as an educational institution to educate the public about the history of transportation in Virginia. I might point out that the Virginia Museum of Transportation is already the official museum of transportation in Virginia. It is just not a state agency. The bill would create a board of trustees consisting of 15 members appointed by the governor, with one member being a member of the Commonwealth Transportation Board. It permits the board to enter into an agreement with an existing nonprofit organization to help operate the facility, and they could work in partnership with this organization. I don't know if anybody's here now. They were here yesterday afternoon. Yeah, would you please stand up and come forward and?
Excuse me. If it was heard previously, we do not take
Okay, all right.
testimony.
I think it's been heard previously by a couple of agencies, the Education and Health Committee, as well as a subcommittee, and so I move the bill pass.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded that Senate Bill 1020 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported. Next, Senator.
Madam Chair, having voted on the prevailing side, I move that we reconsider that vote. I think we ought to put a clause on that bill.
All right. It's been moved. Is there a second to reconsider the bill?
Second.
Moved and seconded to reconsider. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is being reconsidered.
Madam Chair, I move we amend the bill by putting the financial contingency clause on it, please.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
It's been moved and seconded that we add the clause to Senate Bill 1020. All in favor of that motion, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? It's been moved that the bill as amended be reported. Is there a second? Second?
Second.
Did all in favor record your vote?
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill as amended is reported. Senator Hanger, you have Senate Bill 1511.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 1511 deals with land use classifications. And what this bill does, it allows a property that has been participating in a program for land use and still qualifies because of practice, a soil and water conservation program to continue with that, even though they're not receiving compensation, so long as they maintain the practice. But it would require, in this instance, that the landowner, the person that's performing the practice, that's getting land use valuation, certify that they are continuing the practice with the Commissioner of the Revenue or whatever agency in the locality is managing that program. There are some people that could speak to this if necessary, including Farm Bureau, work with the Farm Bureau, Soil and Water Conservation Districts, and some of the conservation groups that would be in favor. But if there's no opposition, I would just move that it be reported, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, we have a speaker on Zoom.
All right, let's hear the speaker on Zoom.
John McCarthy, you may speak on the bill.
I will defer to the senator's previous request. If he doesn't feel there's any opposition, I need not take up your time.
been moved
Second.
and seconded that
Thank you.
Senate Bill 1511 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0, the bill's reported. Well, he'll just need to wait. Okay. Senator Locke, Senate Bill 839.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 839 would implement recommendations from a 2021 JLARC study of the state's affordable housing needs. The bill would require DHCD to routinely conduct a comprehensive statewide assessment of the state's housing needs, require DHCD to develop a statewide plan for meeting those needs, and require DHCD to provide annual updates to the General Assembly on progress made. This bill incorporated Senate Bill 1190, which was Senator Evans's bill, and Senate Bill 1049, Senator McPike's bill, which also addresses the REACH program. And that's what the bill does.
Are there questions? Is there a motion? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 839 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0, the bill's reported. Senator Lucas, Senate Bill 1175.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Senate Bill 11, why is that bill still up there? Okay, 1175. I was looking at Senator Locke's bill. What the bill does, Madam Chair, is it requires the Commonwealth to compensate its public school teachers at a rate that is competitive, defined in current law at or above the national teacher average. Current, say again?
1175.
Yeah, that's, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. I have two bills and I was going to the wrong bill. Okay, Madam Chair, what this bill does, it expands the several provisions of the Virginia Literacy Act enacted during the 2022 regular session of the General Assembly, effective with the 2024-25 school year, and currently applicable to students in kindergarten through grades 3 to students in grades 4 through 8. That's essentially what the bill does, Madam Chair.
Are there questions for the patron? Hearing none, is there a motion? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1175 be reported. Please record your vote.
Okay.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Lucas, 1215.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, Senate Bill 1175. 1215. I'm looking at them the way I on the sheet. Again, effective teachers are the most important school-based determinant of school educational performance. Low pay in Virginia is contributing to teacher and school staff shortage. And as you all know, the pandemic has exacerbated such shortage and student achievement gaps that already existed. Students, especially those historically disadvantaged, will require additional supports as they recover from lost learning and other impacts potentially affecting mental health and well-being. Madam Chair, what this bill would do, it will increase the teacher pay in Virginia to make it compared to other states and professions.
Madam Chair, I like the bill. I understand there's a committee substitute.
Yes.
I'll move the
We hear-
substitute. Okay.
It's an amendment? Okay.
I'll move the amendment.
The amendment has been moved and seconded. Would staff briefly describe it?
Madam Chair, it removes the third enactment related to the teacher salary increases in the budget.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, With the amendment, then when would we have teacher salaries that would be at or above the national average?
Tyler.
Madam Chair, Senator Deeds, the amendment would still require DOE to report on the amount of funding necessary for the state to contribute to get to the national average teacher salary, but it would not have the enactment clause then requiring it to be included in the Appropriation Act. Essentially, the governor and then the General Assembly could consider what is necessary as a salary increase to get to the national average.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
That doesn't exactly give me the date that I'm looking for. Could I get a bit of clarification?
Senator Howe, Senator Lucas, it would still require DOE to report on the amount of funding necessary for the state to provide to get to the national teacher's average salary, but then it would still be up to the General Assembly and Governor to include that into the Appropriation Act as necessary. And the report from DOE would be done annually, so you would know every year the necessary amount.
I guess that means I have to keep getting reelected.
Yes, Senator Saslaw.
Would that national average be based individually on number of years taught, degree, whether you had an advanced degree, things like that, or is it just a straight out one-figure average?
Madam Chair, Senator Saslaw, the national average is just a straight average of total dollars spent on salaries divided by the number of teachers. The bill would require would tell you the necessary amount of funding to get your funded salary in the Appropriation Act. So the funded salary is the salary used by DOE to calculate basic aid and the SOQs, and that would be the funded average salary.
Okay. Do you have a number as an example? Any number?
Madam Chair, Senator Saslaw, in your packet of the write-ups on bills on page 14, there is a table of the Virginia average salary compared to the national average. In fiscal year 2022, it looks like the estimate would be a 9.5% increase to get the Virginia average salary to the national average.
A 9% increase.
Through the chair, please.
Madam Chair, Senator Saslaw, 9.5%.
Right. Yeah, I see it. 58,000. That was in 21.
Mr. Chair,
Okay, so-
Madam Chair.
Yes,
If I
Senator
can
Deeds.
ask, the second chart that
wait,
shows a
yeah,
50
national.
state average salary, that shows us closer to the national average by 2024 within 1.7%. Is that, what kind of scenario is that paint?
Madam Chair, Senator Deeds, that assumes that the national increase is 3% each year. And so it really depends on what all 50 states do. And so one state could increase their salary and another one might not, and that contributes to the national average.
Okay, is there a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that the bill be reported.
That,
As amended.
the substitute?
Yes, the substitute.
And if
Okay.
they also will subsidize.
It's an amendment.
It's
Arlington. All right, I move that the amendment be adopted.
They don't pay the whole thing, but they give you a stipend.
Now, Madam
It's been
Chair.
moved and seconded that the amendment be adopted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Now, Madam Chair, I move that the bill be reported with the amendment.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1215 be reported as amended. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I think that's it for me for today.
Okay. Senator McClellan, you have Senate Bill 1320.
1320 codifies the Virginia CDFI fund, which we had adopted in the budget, I believe, in 2021. and will capitalize it to serve as a repository for current and any future stimulus funding streams, to become a permanent source for community investment in housing and economic development. I think there is a substitute to conform this with the House Companion Bill.
Is there a substitute?
Yes, Madam Chair. As the senator said, it conforms to the House version. It imposes conditional requirements for qualifying institutions to receive funds from the program. It excludes financing, interest, and fees, income, and administrative costs to administer to the CDFI program, and then allows for small business financing, or requires small business financing to emphasize microfinancing, meaning loans of $100,000 or less.
It's been moved and seconded the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's agreed to.
And Madam Chair, I'll just remind the committee that we became one of the first states to create this fund to create a model and public-private partnership for investment in undercapitalized communities, and I think it's time to codify it and strengthen it.
Okay.
Move to report the substitute.
It's been moved and seconded that 1320 be reported. Record your vote.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. Bill's reported. Senator McClellan, you have another bill, 1332.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 1332 is, I believe, identical or very close to a bill that we passed, I think unanimously last year, that would require consultation between certain state permitting agencies and the federally recognized Virginia tribes, and to designate, have the Secretary of the Commonwealth designate an ombudsman for such purposes. I did put in a budget amendment for an ombudsman, although I think nothing in the bill prohibits the Secretary from appointing an existing staff person, but out of an abundance of caution, there is a budget amendment to provide an additional full-time equivalent, and that's the fiscal impact of the bill.
Is there a motion?
Move to report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1332 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported. Senator Stewart. I thought he was here.
He left.
He left, okay. All right. Senator Newman.
Madam Chair, I have two bills. On Senate Bill 853, this is the Southern Virginia Internet Crimes Against Children. As you know, the state police has a similar program. I've talked to the chairs and co-chairs, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to strike the bill and work this through in the budget.
Okay, the patron asks that the bill be stricken, and it's been seconded, and we'll work on it through the budget. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's stricken, and we'll work on it in the budget. Senator Newman.
Madam Chair, the next one is Senate Bill 883. This is the one that takes to an every year instead of the triennial process for education. It came through education and health. Basically, we have had extraordinary learning loss, and this bill says that we will be measuring that every year. I think what it's going to show is going to show quicker improvement over time. The education community, if you will, asked for a delayed enactment date until July 1st, 2024. That's on the bill from Education and Health. And with that, I don't know of any opposition, but that's the bill.
Madam Chair, I move that a bill be reported.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 872 be reported. Please record your vote.
Madam Chair, that's not the right
Oh.
bill.
No, it's 883.
Please strike the board.
It should be Senate Bill 883.
Ayes 11, noes 4.
Ayes 11, noes 4, the bill's reported.
You're welcome.
Okay, Senator Norman. You have Senate Bill 1094.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. That's a bill that was sent to us from General Laws where it was passed 12-0. What it provides is that the Treasury Board has a responsibility to make recommendations to the governor on alternative finance agreements that, such as PPTs, that higher education may enter into. This does not apply to the level 3 institutions, of which are the lower levels. And the reason for this is to provide minimal oversight to be certain that agreements that are being entered into are financially sound. As you may know, a number of the colleges and universities are gotten very aggressive in doing public-private partnerships, particularly with housing on campus. And we did have one situation that needed some oversight.
Are there questions?
Oh, I apologize, Madam Chairman. Excuse me. I have a substitute, and I'd respectfully move that the substitute, no?
They're amendments, I think.
We also have a substitute which incorporated your substitute.
That's what I thought.
Okay, so you're that.
All right, there's
Okay.
a motion to...
There's a substitute that included the amendments in that, so I would move the substitute that incorporated the amendments that we added.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay,
I'd move the bill be reported.
it's been moved
Second.
and seconded that Senate Bill 1094 be reported. Thank you.
I mean to choke you up.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, no 0, the bill's reported.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now Senator Norman, you have Senate Bill 1451. We did that one in the, oh, sorry, okay.
But I'll reconsider it if you want.
Senator Peterson, you have Senate Bill 1476.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, you will notice I'm doing this without notes, which is because I'm going to kind of freeform it. But you might remember last year, we passed a bill that allowed pass-through entities, which is to say LLCs, PLCs, other small, closely held companies, to take advantage of what is in the IRS, essentially the ability of a small business to claim state and local taxes as a business expense on their return. And this is part of the updates from the federal government. And as a result, it would have been a major benefit to our small businesses. And it did take effect, and it has a positive impact. One of the issues was that we said that the entities that would take advantage of this, in other words, be able to declare state and local taxes as a business expense, were natural persons residing in Virginia. But a lot of small, closely held businesses themselves consist of corporate entities such as an LLC, which becomes a member in an LLC. So what my bill does is effectively corrects this oversight and matches us up more precisely with the federal law. Like most of my legislation, this is not my idea. And I have folks here that are experts that can answer. We'll say the Society of CPAs and I believe Chambers of Commerce are supporting this bill. And I don't think there's any opposition or frankly any downside to it. So I have folks here if you want to hear from them. Here we go.
Yes.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Emily Walker with the Virginia Society of CPAs. Senator Peterson described the bill well. This is really technical corrections to last year's legislation to make sure that's available to all taxpayers that could benefit from it in Virginia, and there is no revenue impact for Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Nicole Brenner with Reed Smith on behalf of the Virginia Chamber. You passed this bill unanimously last year. This makes sure all the entities can make the election and that the benefit is only received by the natural person Virginia residents. Thank you.
Okay, are there questions? Is there a motion? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1476 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported. Senator Peterson, you also have 1502.
I know. Can I take that back today? I apologize, Madam Chair. I didn't realize I had this bill. I do have a witness.
Yep. That bill will go by for the day. Senator Ruff, you have Senate Bill 1182.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. There is a substitute, and I would ask you to adopt the substitute.
So motion to adopt the substitute. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
The substitute eliminates any concern that some may have had about from various commissioners of the revenue. The goal of the legislation is to modernize the bank franchise tax through efficiencies and streamlined use of technology. It allows the filing and remittance of tax through electronic means rather than the current requirement to file by paper. It allows for a filing extension of up to 60 days from March 1st, but does not change the current tax due date of June 1st. Lastly, it allows electronic access to real estate assessment records needed for tax collection calculations. The substitute changes the effective date to the legislation until January 1st, 2025. This will reduce the burden on the filers and reduce the paper errors and streamline auditing. The substitute does not affect rates, local administration, or allocation of existing bank franchise taxes. Finally, it does establish a work group with tax, VACO, VML, bankers, and commissioners of revenue about possibly developing potential alternative methods of filing and allocation to be considered in the 2024 session.
Are there questions on the bill? Does anybody want to speak to the bill? Is there a motion on the bill? Oh, sorry.
Not wanting to get in ahead of hopefully a speeding train. Matt Bruni with the Virginia Bankers Association. We appreciate the senator putting the bill in for us. As he described, we had some larger provisions that were included in the original that we couldn't solve all the answers for this session. So we pulled that out in the substitute. And in the third enactment clause, as he mentioned, put a work group together. I want to thank the Department of Taxation, the localities, the Commissioners of Revenue for the ongoing discussions we've had on this. The bill does go as an effective date, you see in Clause 2, on January 1, 2025, so that we have time to get the systems upgrades and the processes figured out on the electronic filing. I know the Senator has a budget amendment that reflects at least partially of what the fiscal impact statement came out from tax to do those systems upgrades, and we will certainly work with them in the interim on making sure that that process works for both the bankers on filing, on the localities for accepting and remitting to tax, and certainly the Department of Taxation. So we hope that you look favorably upon the bill.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion on the bill?
Is there anyone else to testify?
Is there?
Is there others to testify?
I don't see anybody. Is there anyone else who wanted? Oh, I'm sorry.
Madam Chairman, Paige Johnson, representing Virginia Commissioners of Revenue. We support the substitute.
Thank you. Okay. We need a motion. It's been moved and seconded that it be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0, the bill's reported. Senator Ruff, you have 9.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The next bill is Senate Bill 913. This legislation deals with the Public-Private Advisory Commission and the membership therein. Currently, the membership consists of 8 legislators and 3 cabinet members. The bill designates that of the 3 cabinet members, one would be the Secretary of Finance. It also requires the reports continue to be sent to the money committees and DGS, but also to the Secretary of Finance. And I would move the bill be reported.
Senator Barker.
Madam Chair, I think we can address this issue through the budget that we put together this week. And so I think with that, then we could pass the bill by indefinitely.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
The motion is to pass the bill by indefinitely, but include the purposes of it in the budget language. Is there? Yes, Charles.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Charles Kennington, Deputy Secretary of Finance. If you'll indulge me just for a minute, I would appreciate it if you would consider supporting the bill. This is a bill that the Secretary of Finance asked Senator Ruff to carry, and the purpose here is just to give the Secretary of Finance an opportunity to review proposed interim or comprehensive agreements before they enter negotiations with responsible parties. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The motion on the floor is to pass it by indefinitely with covering this topic in the budget itself. And I think we've had a motion and a second on that. All right. Okay, all in favor, please record your vote. Aye, opposed, no.
Ayes 11, noes 4.
Ayes 11, noes 4. The bill is passed by indefinitely, and it will be dealt with in our budget.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. One last bill is Senate Bill 996. There is a substitute for that. I would ask you to adopt.
Is there a motion to adopt the substitute? Second to the motion to adopt. Second. It's been moved and seconded. We adopt the substitute. Please, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Substitute's adopted.
Madam Chairman, this is a small business-friendly piece of legislation. The bill arose because an automotive business received a penalty and interest bill for a tax which they had received no notice. It dealt with the litter tax, and the assessed tax was $20. When they received the bill, it had a $100 penalty. The substitute clarifies that no penalty or interest can be imposed until after a 30-day notice that the tax is due. With the 30-day notice, they can charge the penalty, interest, and any collection cost. This narrowed it down from some concerns that it dealt with anything other, but I think it's only fair that small businesses be treated fairly and aren't caught off guard by small taxes.
Is there a motion?
And I would move that the bill be reported.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 996 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, noes 0. The bill's reported. Senator Saslaw, you have Senate Bill 1206.
Yeah, this was a bill, something that started as a MEI recommendation. Rocket Lab in February of 2022, last year, had submitted plans to manufacture and launch a new Neutron rocket from Wallops Island Flight Facility. And they were going to spend are proposing to spend $103 million, create 246 jobs. And what it did was we would provide $15 million in performance-based funding and subject to approval from the Virginia Commercial Spaceflight Authority. And because of the way it's put together, the Senate Finance staff says that it would be more appropriate probably to do this through the budget language as opposed to, putting it in the code, Chapter 1. So what I'm going to do is move that it be passed by for the day, and they'll probably discuss it tomorrow.
Okay.
So the motion would be to pass it by for the day.
Okay, without objection, we'll pass it by for the day.
That's it.
Okay, no. Then there's one more bill, and that's my bill. Senate Bill 1520, so I'd ask Senator Barker to take the gavel.
Sure. Senate Bill 1520, Senator Howell.
Thank you. First of all, there is a substitute for this bill. It's been moved and seconded.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The substitute's adopted, so.
Okay. What this bill does is it authorizes the Virginia Public Building Authority to issue bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $21,665,000 for the state share of 2 local and regional jail projects, one in Loudoun County and one in Albemarle, Charlottesville. It also amends that the authority will meet 4 times annually rather than each quarter. And that's what the bill does. Is there anything I left out, Tyler? Yes? No? No. Okay.
All right. You've heard the presentation. There's a motion and a second to report.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0.
The motion's adopted. The bill is reported.
Thanks. Okay, does that complete the docket?
Senator Lewis and Senator Stewart each have a bill, but these are here that I see.
We'll do it tomorrow.
All right. Okay, pass them by.
Actually, Lewis just wants, he doesn't need the bill.
Okay.
He understands what you do it.
The committee, there being nothing else on the docket, the committee will rise.